looking to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles. You're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. The Bureau of Fire Protection is currently investigating a distressing incident that occurred at a cold storage facility late Monday night. Reports suggest that an ammonia leak and subsequent fire led to the unfortunate death of a resident and the hospitalization of more than 20 individuals. In a dire warning, scientists reveal that the Himalayan Glaciers, which provide critical water to nearly 2 billion people, are melting faster than ever before due to climate change.
You will have seen that this
In a significant milestone for global environment conservation, the United Nations has announced the adoption of the world's first international treaty aimed at safeguarding the high seas. And Thailand defended hosting talks with the Myanmar junta that have split the regional bloc, leading diplomatic efforts to end the chaos engulfing the country since the military seized power. The generals have been barred from high-level meetings of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, a regional bloc of which Myanmar is a member. And we have a developing story coming in from Navota City, where a tragic incident at a cold storage facility has claimed one life and left over 20 individuals hospitalized. The Bureau of Fire Protection is currently investigating a distressing incident that occurred at a cold storage facility late Monday night. Reports suggest that an ammonia leak and subsequent fire led to the unfortunate death of a resident and the hospitalization of more than 20 individuals. Authorities are now working to confirm if the death of a 16-year-old boy is directly linked to the ammonia leak at the facility located on M. Naval Street in Barangay North Bay Boulevard North. According to initial reports from BFP Navotas, the incident unfolded shortly after 11 p.m. Witnesses stated that workers within the storage facility detected the presence of ammonia, prompting them to swiftly evacuate. Fire Marshal Superintendent Jude de los Reyes arrived at the scene and led efforts to locate the source of the leak. However, a fire erupted within the facility, forcing the firefighters to temporarily withdraw. BFP personnel were able to close the valve where ammonia was leaking at 1:42 a.m. Tuesday. The ammonia leak was traced to the control room where there were various machines. As the investigation into this tragic incident continues, the cold storage facility will remain closed. In a late-night update, the U.S. Coast Guard announced the completion of its search for a missing submersible vessel near the Titanic wreck. However, the efforts will continue overnight as a National Guard unit and the company operating the underwater mission persists in scouring the surface.
So at approximately 5:40 p.m. on Sunday, the Coast Guard was notified from the research vessel Polar Prince. That was about 900 miles east of Cape Cod over the site of the Titanic. Had lost contact with the submersible with 5 persons on board. The submersible had reportedly left the vessel on the dive at approximately 8 o'clock in the morning, and they had lost contact with them within about 2 hours with that. After their expected time to return, they conducted initial search and were unable to find anything or any sign of the submarine, and they contacted the Coast Guard. We have since launched 2 aircraft from our air station in Elizabeth City, two HC-130 long-range search and rescue aircraft. They've been searching over the site to view the surface of the water to see if we can find any sign of the vessel at this point. Additionally, Canada has used one of their Canadian military P-8 aircraft, which does utilize a sonar technology with buoys, and they can be able to use sonar below the water surface to help try and locate the submarine.
The 21-foot craft, operated by OceanGate Expeditions, encountered communication loss less than 2 hours after its descent on Sunday. Despite extensive search operations by the U.S. and Canadian authorities throughout the day, one of the passengers on board has been identified as British businessman Hamish Harding, who had shared updates about the expedition on social media. Rear Admiral John Mauger of the U.S. Coast Guard emphasized the urgency of the situation, stating that time is critical as the vessel has approximately 70 hours of remaining oxygen for the crew of 5. OceanGate Expeditions issued a statement expressing their focus on the crew safety and their commitment to ensuring their return. The company utilizes a submersible named Titan for dives to a maximum depth of 4,000 meters. Our next story today focuses on President Marcos Jr.'s recent directive to construct water impounding facilities outside Metro Manila. According to NWRB Executive Director Civilio David Jr., the construction of water impounding facilities, as per President Marcos's directive, will be highly beneficial for farmers, especially during the dry season. Take a look.
Nagpapasalamat po tayo sa direktibang binigay po ng ating Pangulo tungkol sa mga water impounding facilities. Sa tingin po natin ay itong mga fasilidad na to ay sila pong makakatulong sa kasalukuyang sitwasyon natin para mapangalagaan yung mga pangailangan po natin sa pang-tubig, particular po pag panahon ng tag-init na wala masyadong pag-ulan. At kung itong mga impounding facility ay mapapakinabangan po yan pagka medyo mataas po yung mga pag-ulan at may popondo po yan sa mga pasilidad na to na pwede ho natin gamitin, particular po sa irigasyon at sa tingin po natin sa ibang pangailangan ay malaki rin po ang may tutulong nito.
President Marcos unveiled his administration's plan to construct large water impounding facilities outside Metro Manila as part of flood control measures for the capital city. Additionally, the impounded water could also be utilized for agricultural purposes, providing a dual benefit. And the current water level in Angat Dam, which serves as the primary water source for Metro Manila, is at a normal operating level of 186 meters. The NWRB had initially allocated 52 centimeters of water supply to the Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System for the period from June 16 to 30. However, the MWRB approved an extension of this allocation, maintaining it at 50 centimeters. Let's listen in.
Sinasabi nga po hanggang next year ay medyo malakas po ang posibilidad na magkaroon ng El Nino. Kaya kasama ito po sa pinaghahandaan po natin na kasalukuyan, tangin po natin may sapat tayong supply, pero sabi nga po natin, kailangan pa rin po natin i-manage ito para mapangalagaan yung pangailangan ng kababayan natin, particular po pagka yung mga panahon po na umepekto na po yung El Nino. Ito pong kasalukuyang extension na yung masasabi po natin hindi naman po makaka-apekto masyado ito at nakikipagtulungan din po tayo sa NWSS para po mapaigting yung effort sila at hindi po masyado maka-apekto at kasama rin po yatin dyan yung NIA po, yung mga irrigators dyan sa Bulacan at Pampanga na tumutulong din po sila doon sa efforts natin na makarecover at ma-manage yung paggagamit po natin ng tubig at ito ay kasama sa buong komprehensibong paghahanda po natin para po mapaghandaan itong posibleng epekto nitong El Nino.
In a dire warning, scientists revealed today that the Himalayan Glaciers, which provide critical water to nearly 2 billion people, are melting faster than ever before due to climate change. A report by the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, or ICIMOD, showed that glaciers vanished 65% more rapidly from 2011 to 2020 compared to the previous decade. Lead author Philippus Westard expressed deep concern, stating as it gets warmer, ice will melt. That was expected, but what is unexpected and very worrying is the speed. This is going much faster than we thought. unquote. The Hindu Kush Himalaya region's glaciers are a lifeline for approximately 240 million people residing in the mountainous areas and an additional 1.65 billion people living in the river valleys below, according to the report. The ICIMOD, based in Nepal and composed of member countries Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, China, India, Myanmar, and Pakistan, warned that under current emissions trajectories, the glaciers could lose up to 80% of their volume by the end of the century. These glaciers nourish 10 of the world's major river systems, including the Ganges, Indus, Yellow, Mekong, and Irrawaddy. They directly or indirectly provide billions of people with food, energy, clean air, and livelihoods. In a significant milestone for global environmental conservation, the United Nations has announced the adoption of the world's first international treaty aimed at safeguarding the high seas. This landmark agreement seeks to protect remote ecosystems that play a crucial role in supporting life on Earth. Take a look.
You will have seen that this morning, member states adopted an agreement aiming to ensure the conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction, which cover over 2/3 of the ocean. The Secretary General commended the adoption of the agreement and said it pumped new life and hope to give the ocean a fighting chance. The agreement will be open for signature here at headquarters for 2 years from the 20th of September this year, the day after the 2023 SDG Summit. It will enter into force after ratification by 60 states. The Secretary General urges all states to spare no effort to ensure that the agreement enters into force and calls on them to act without delay to sign and ratify it as soon as possible. You can find more details online.
One key aspect of the treaty is the establishment of protected marine areas in international waters. Currently, only about 1% of the high seas are safeguarded by conservation measures. The treaty also introduces requirements for conducting environmental impact studies for proposed activities in international waters, such as fishing, maritime transport, and potentially controversial pursuits like deep-sea mining or geoengineering programs. Furthermore, it establishes principles for sharing the benefits derived from marine genetic resources collected through scientific research in international waters. This provision ensures that developing countries have a fair share in the commercialization of these resources, which hold great potential for pharmaceutical and cosmetic industries. In tonight's other news, a 24-year-old Chinese national has been charged after allegedly attacking diners with an axe-like weapon at 3 restaurants in Auckland, New Zealand. Now, the man was arrested at the scene and appeared in court on Tuesday, where he was granted interim name suppression. He was charged with wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, but police said more charges were likely. 4 people were injured in the attack, including 2 who were taken to hospital in a serious condition. Police said they believe the attack was an isolated incident and there is no evidence to suggest it was racially motivated. The man is due to reappear in court on Wednesday. Inspector Stefan Sagar, the Waitemata East Area Commander, acknowledged how frightening this was for those involved. He said police are working to understand the motive for the attack and are appealing for witnesses to come forward. The United States and China attempted to establish a safety net for their escalating rivalry during Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Beijing. However, the trip concluded with general promises and no breakthroughs on crucial military talks and contentious issues. Now, Chinese leader Xi Jinping expressed optimism about the strained relationship with the U.S. during his rare visit. During the visit by Secretary Blinken, however, despite some signs of progress, the 2 rival powers continue to clash over their core disputes. Take a look.
双方在一些具体的问题上呢，也取得了进展，达成了共识，这很好。国与国交往啊，总要相互尊重，以诚相待。 我也希望国务卿先生这次访华呀，能够为稳定中美关系多发挥积极作用。
We are clear-eyed about the challenges posed by the PRC. The United States will advance a vision for the future that we share with so many others, a free, open, stable, and prosperous world, with countries upholding and updating the rules-based order that has, for years, safeguarded peace and security globally. We have no illusions about the challenges of managing this relationship. There are many issues on which we profoundly, even vehemently, disagree. We will always take the best course of action to advance the interests of the American people. But the United States has a long history of successfully managing complicated, consequential relationships through diplomacy. One of the important things for me to do on this trip was to disabuse our Chinese hosts of the notion that we are seeking to economically contain them. We're not. And as I've said, we are not about decoupling, we're about de-risking and diversifying.
The United States and China find themselves at odds over various critical issues, including trade, human rights, and geopolitical influence. Experts believe that despite the general agreement to explore the possibility of stabilizing the bilateral relationship, there is still a significant gap between the two sides. Bonnie Glaser, a China expert at the German Marshall Fund of the U.S., expressed skepticism about achieving the desired goal. Bonnie Glaser said the two sides have basically agreed to explore the possibility of stabilizing the bilateral relationship. There is no certainty they will achieve that goal. Some experts believe that the meeting was a positive step as it showed that both sides are willing to engage in dialogue. They also point to the fact that the two sides agreed to continue working together on issues of mutual interest. Other experts are more skeptical, arguing that the meeting didn't achieve anything concrete and that the two sides remain far apart on the most important issues. They also point to the fact that the meeting was overshadowed by the ongoing tensions over Taiwan. And against this backdrop, we turn to the residents of Beijing to hear their perspectives on the strained ties between the U.S. and China.
其实我感觉最多的还是那个关于日韩中美日韩中，包括中美台之间的关系。我觉得他大概是为了这个关系来的。他大概是为了解决前段时间南海的两国军舰冲突之类的关系，包括以及下半年的经济发展的应该这些。
大家可能是感觉是两边都是像一个在吵架的一个情侣吧，我是这么感觉，就是两边都是有各自的想法利益，不愿意推让，然后两个人性格会比较像，就是比较激进。
As the high-level talks between the U.S. and China unfold, the world watches closely to see if any significant progress can be made in bridging the gaps that have deepened over time. And our next story today revolves around the recent talks between Thailand and Myanmar junta, which have sparked division within the regional bloc. Thailand defended its decision to host talks with the Myanmar junta. Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha said the talks were necessary to address the humanitarian crisis in Myanmar. He said that not engaging in talks could have adverse effects on the people in the region. The junta has been barred from high-level meetings of ASEAN since it seized power in a coup in February 2021. However, Thailand, which shares a long border with Myanmar, invited junta Foreign Minister Win Maung-lin to an informal two-day meeting in Bangkok. The decision to hold these talks has raised eyebrows, especially since Indonesia and Malaysia, two of the harshest critics of the junta within ASEAN, chose to boycott the meeting. Singapore also expressed concerns, considering it is premature to engage with the junta at such a high level.
We condemn the coup in Myanmar and the ongoing violence against civilians. Unfortunately, it's now more than 2 years. We haven't seen any signs of improvement. From an ASEAN perspective, we had the 5-point consensus, and we haven't seen any significant progress. So we believe it would be premature to re-engage with the junta.
While some ASEAN members snubbed the meeting, Cambodia sent a junior foreign ministry official, and China dispatched its special envoy for Asian Affairs, Deng Shijun, highlighting its long-standing support for the Myanmar junta. Now, this split within ASEAN deals a fresh blow to the bloc's attempts to defuse the crisis. The fighting between the army and rebel groups in Myanmar has periodically sent thousands of people fleeing across the border into Thailand. The United Nations estimates that more than 1 million people have been displaced by the conflict. The Department of Finance of the Philippines and the Department of Economic Affairs of India have signed a memorandum of understanding to form a joint working group, or JWG, on Fintech. The MOU was signed on Monday, June 19, by Finance Secretary Benjamin Diokno and Ambassador of India to the Philippines, Shambhu Santha Kumaran. Let's listen in.
Today's event marks an important milestone in the bilateral relations of India and the Philippines. Just in time for the upcoming 5th Philippines-India Joint Commission on Bilateral Cooperation, set to take place in New Delhi, India, in a few days from now. On the one hand, India is a rising economic powerhouse with a forte in digital technology. On the other, the Philippines hosts a young and tech-savvy talent pool that can provide the intellectual capital needed to succeed in the digital economy. Clearly, the possibilities between our two economies are boundless. Recognizing this immense and far-reaching economic potential, the administration of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has placed a high premium on digital transformation.
And I think this is what animated both Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi and President Marcos during their telephone conversation in August 2022 to look at the digital economy and the financial sector in particular as an enabler of faster development for our people. And I do believe that on this basis, we could see in the future a flurry of potential cooperative ventures. And as the Secretary mentioned, with our young, dynamic, English-speaking, outward-looking populations, the sky is indeed the limit for the India-Philippines financial sector partnership.
Their copy of the MOU. Let's give them a round of applause.
Now, Diokno highlighted the complementarity between the two countries. The JWG will facilitate intergovernmental discussions on various key matters. These discussions will include the exchange of best practices to enhance policy and regulatory frameworks, fostering cooperation in the development of fintech solutions for business and financial sectors, and encouraging the establishment of international standards through the creation of an international version of application programming interfaces, or API. The JWG is expected to meet regularly to discuss progress and make recommendations for future cooperation. And our next story takes us to the charming village of Iseltwald in Switzerland, which has experienced an overwhelming surge in Asian tourists following its appearance in the hit South Korean series Crash Landing on You. Let's hear more about this phenomenon from the local tourism office. Since the romantic scene featuring Iseltwald was broadcasted in the popular South Korean series, the village has become a magnet for Asian tourists. With travel restrictions lifted across much of Asia last year, Iseltwald has seen an astonishing influx of visitors. According to Tithya Wayland, the manager of the local tourism office, the number of tourists has reached a staggering ratio of 1,000 visitors for every local resident. The influx of tourists has presented both opportunities and challenges for the residents of Isiltwald. While the surge in visitors has brought economic benefits to the local businesses, such as hotels and restaurants, it has also placed a strain on the village's infrastructure and resources. Isiltwald serves as a prime example of how popular culture can have a profound impact on travel trends and the responsibilities that come with it. Thousands of Indonesian football fans are gathering outside the Gelora Bung Karno Stadium in Jakarta to watch the international friendly against Argentina. Despite the absence of Lionel Messi, the fans are still chanting enthusiastically, and they're hoping to see their team put up a good fight against the world champions. Take a look.
Sebenarnya dua-dua sih, cuma saat ini kita dukung timnas Indonesia lah, karena cukup kecewa juga waktu Messi memutuskan untuk tidak datang sih.
Sempat nggak kepikiran mau jual?
Kemarin sempat pengen jual tiket, tapi karena yang sebagai fan Argentina sejati nggak jadi jual tiket.
Now, Argentina beat Indonesia 2-0 in a friendly in Jakarta on Monday without the star power of Lionel Messi. The world champions were without several other first-choice regulars but still managed to dominate possession and create chances. Leandro Paredes opened the scoring in the 38th minute, firing a rocket into the top corner after staunch defending from the home side. Christian Romero doubled the lead in the 55th minute, heading home from close range. Argentina's dominance eventually paid off in the 55th minute when Tottenham defender Christian Romero outmuscled his marker to deliver a powerful header into the net. Romero's goal dealt a severe blow to any hopes of an Indonesian comeback, firmly cementing Argentina's control over the match. The Indonesian Football Association reportedly paid $5 million to bring Argentina to Jakarta for the first senior international match between the two sides. Argentina's head coach Lionel Scaloni announced earlier that Lionel Messi will not be part of the squad for this fixture, as he has been given a well-deserved rest. Alongside Messi, veteran players Angel Di Maria and Nicolas Otamendi were also absent from the match. Scaloni emphasized that the decision to rest these players was made prior to the match. And today we take you on a journey to the vibrant city of Perth in Australia, where a vibrant celebration of Filipino culture is taking place. Filipinos in Perth are gathering to create a day filled with joy, camaraderie, and the unmistakable kababayan vibe. Join us as we delve into the heart of this fun-filled event, brought to you by Jenalyn Despi. Jenalyn.
The Filipino-Australian Club of Perth Incorporated held its Open Club Day in Bedford, Western Australia.
It was a whole-day event filled with everything fun.
Showcasing the beautiful Philippine culture and show it also to the wider Australian audience.
To the Seniors Socials and Information Forum, to Pinoys of Perth Stories of Migrant Experience. This occasion also showcased Filipino street food and other products highlighting Filipino culture and heritage. Dressmaker and fashion designer Femi Anastasi brought to the event Perth-made Filipinianas.
So to provide for all the Filipinos here in Australia, I just enjoy making it.
Jenalyn Despi, Perth, Australia. Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.